Hello, fellow YouTube fans of genealogy and DNA research. Here's another video I'm composing on my recent Y-DNA test that I took with Family Tree DNA. That's a company from Texas, and they have a whole lot of offerings. They're very similar to Ancestry.com. They offer a Family Finder program, which is similar to Ancestry's DNA program, where you're going to find your autosomal relatives, which would be your cousins. But this company also does some more in-depth testing. Here's a Y-DNA test that they offer. And the first thing you're going to see is there's a couple different types of Y-DNA tests. And before we even get to that, we'll just talk a little bit about what is Y-DNA. Okay, for that answer, we're going to go to Family Tree DNA's website, and they have an excellent learning center on there. And this article is entitled Y Chromosome DNA STR Test. What will I learn? A Y-DNA test looks at male inherited Y chromosome DNA. As the Y chromosome is passed on from father to his sons, it is only found in males. Y-DNA testing can be used to trace clearly a direct paternal line. And as you see here in the small diagram, this is what you're looking for. You start off with yourself, your father's father, and so on down the line. Now, this will go back several thousand years in most instances, however old your family line goes back. So let's continue to read on here. Each of the Y-DNA STR tests come with a haplogroup prediction that is backed by our SNP assurance policy. Our Y-DNA STR test can also be used for determining geographic origins of the direct paternal line, as well as deep ancestral origins. And what that basically means is they're going to go way back till probably when your family was started here on Earth. There's an excellent area that we're going to look at in a second with a huge map of the world and how different families and paternal lines evolved over time out of Africa, moved up into Central Europe, and just spread all over the world. So Y-DNA testing is a very specific type of test. You can also get your mother's side, and both males and females can take that test for your maternal side. But the Y-DNA test is only available for males because, like I said, that chromosome is only passed from father to son to son to son. It goes right on down the line. So what they're talking about with these different levels of testing, they offer several different levels. There's a Y-DNA 12 test, which includes a balance panel of 12 Y-DNA STR markers. It's best used to dispel a suspected genealogical connection on the direct paternal line. So if you have a couple of people that take the Y-DNA test, you want to determine possibly if they have the same father, you could probably start with the Y-DNA 12 test. And that's going to give you an indication if this is indeed two people from the same father. In other words, your direct paternal line. As you're trying to find older ancestors, you may want to test for more STR markers, and they offer a Y-DNA 25 marker test. The additional markers refine the predicted time period in which two individuals are related. It is also used to affirm or confidently disprove a genealogical connection on the direct paternal line. And that's another indicator of using something for comparing two tests. Say we have two people, you think you're really brothers, but maybe you're not, that sort of thing. You could also take the Y-DNA 25 test, and that's going to test more additional markers up and down the DNA sample. The Y-DNA 37 test includes a balanced panel of 37 Y-DNA STR markers. And you get the 25 test plus your 12 DNA test and 12 more, making it up to 37. And that's recommended to test the paternal ancestry of males for genealogical purposes. The additional markers refine the predicted time period in which two individuals are related and eliminate unrelated matches. So as we get higher in the Y-DNA testing markers, you're going to be able to eliminate some false positives, so to speak, of people that may be related to you amongst the paternal line. They offer a test going all the way up to 111 Y-DNA markers. So very interesting here, where you get the results of these tests. Here is another diagram here where you can see the different test options, what may work best for you. Obviously, the Y-DNA 111 test is your most complete. So you're testing along a longer line, so to speak, of your DNA. So you're going to get more refined results, so to speak, from that test. Getting a little deeper into this in another part of the Learning Center beta here, paternal lineage tests, and that's what the Y-DNA test is. Of course, it follows the line of your father's paternal ancestry. The line consists entirely of men. It can trace your father, his father's father, and so forth. It offers a clear path from you to a known or likely direct paternal ancestor. Now, along the way, you can also find genetic cousins along your direct paternal line. Planned comparisons are the best choice. To set up a planned comparison, select two men who you believe share a direct paternal ancestor. Have both men take a Y-DNA test. If they match exactly or closely, then the DNA evidence supports the relationship. If they do not, the result is evidence refuting the relationship. When you discover a match outside of a planned comparison, you can still find your common ancestor with matches. To do so, you use your known paternal genealogy. For each match, look first for a shared surname, that is your last name, and if you come to a culture where some surnames have followed paternal lines, then look for common geographic locations on the direct paternal line. So in other words, if you cannot find your exact last name with people you match on the Y-DNA test, then you can look up different geographical areas and reasons why the names don't match. Now, here's another interesting guide here. For your Y-DNA 111 marker test, if you match the person at what they call a zero genetic distance, there's a 95% chance, as you see here on the screen, that you have a common ancestor within the last 5 generations. So you'd be looking at somebody fairly recently, probably within the last 100 years or so. And as you see, if you match that person at a zero genetic distance, which is a very close match, then at 90%, you may have your direct common ancestor 4 generations ago. and excuse me, and then it goes down to 50% that it was only 2 generations ago. Now, if we jump down to a Y-DNA 37 test, we can see that because there's less markers being tested, even with a zero distance genetic match, which is very close, that's going to tell you that within the last 7 generations, there's a 95% chance that you have the same common ancestor along your paternal line. So very interesting there. As the tests get more in depth and cover more segments of your DNA, it sort of narrows it down in time more for you. So what's in it for you with this Y-DNA test? Well, you can trace the history of your family surname, and then it goes back well beyond before surnames. It goes back several thousand years in most instances. And what you'll get along with this Y-DNA test is what's called a haplogroup prediction. And as I said at the beginning of this video, that is basically where your family line started in the world, and that's the prediction based upon this DNA test. What else you're going to have and find with this? You're going to find matches in the world's largest Y-DNA database offered by Family Tree DNA. You're going to be able to discover your paternal ancestry because the Y chromosome passes almost unchanged from father to son. Male ancestors carried their Y-DNA along their migrations, allowing you to trace your paternal ancestry using their advanced Y-DNA tests and the world's largest Y-DNA database. You're going to be able to trace your paternal migration following the path of your male ancestors. And as you can see this map here on the screen, Adam began in Africa, and from there, people migrated all throughout the world from Africa. So that's going to be your haplogroup prediction of where your paternal line started. And now let's jump over to a map of the different haplogroup regions before I get in and share my Y-DNA results with you. Here's a map from Wikipedia, a world map of Y-DNA haplogroups. Dominant haplogroups in native populations with possible migration routes. And as we can see, here is the Adam notification here in Africa. Of course, with the Family Tree DNA map, it had Adam somewhere around here, but this one here has Adam on the western coast of Africa. And as the different haplogroups developed, they were given alphabetical names, and A through F are in Africa. And the first group out of Africa was G, which settled and began somewhere here in the Middle East, and then moved its way all over the place. You can see all the several different haplogroups here and where they've gone all over the world, over islands, from Russia across into North America and all the way down into South America down here. So that's one of the things that you're going to get as well when you get your Y-DNA test from Family Tree DNA. And Ancestry used to offer this test, but as of a couple years ago, they discontinued offering it for some reason, and they also deleted all the results. So they got a lot of people mad when they did that. They destroyed all of the results and took that down completely. So a little strange why they would do that, especially when they've grown into one of the bigger autosomal testing companies in the world today. Okay, enough of that history of the DNA test and the Y-DNA and what it is exactly. I'm going to sign into my own FTDNA account here, the Family Tree DNA website. And as you can see right here, this is all of my results. I have the My Family Tree uploaded. I have the Family Finder, which I did. I transferred my results from Ancestry.com right into the Family Finder, and I kind of like it. They offer a different type of testing than Ancestry. They have a little different results, which are very interesting. And I'm going to make another video comparing the two autosomal companies here with Family Tree and Ancestry DNA. I won't get into that on this video because this is strictly for Y-DNA. And it's a test that is going to be very specific to certain people. Everybody is not going to take this test. Number one, it's a little bit on the expensive side. It's probably somewhere about twice the amount in money that it does to test for just autosomal results, which would be your cousins. But this is more of a personal test. I think to go back on your paternal line is very important. If you're interested in genealogy and things like that for your own family, I think it's a very worthwhile test to do. Let's jump in right here. I'm going to show you my haplogroup prediction. And I think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this Y-DNA test as well. And here you can see my predicted haplogroup is GM201. And as I was saying earlier in the video, Haplogroup G was the first branch of the Haplogroup F outside of Africa. G is found mostly in the North Central Middle East and the Caucasus, with smaller numbers around the Mediterranean and eastward. Haplogroup G represents one of the first peoples in Europe. So along the right-hand side of the screen here, you can see all the different refinements you can then add to your Y-DNA test once you get it for your haplogroup predictions. And what that does is narrows in on what specific part of G you may be originating from. As you can see, many different areas, and they're refining this more and more every year as more people are taking the test. Family Tree DNA also offers what they call a big Y test. It's about $549 full price at the time of this video that I'm making. But what it's going to do is test all of these different SNPs, as they call them. And it's really going to get you deep on your haplogroup, and it's going to zero in right basically where your family started out at. And if that's important for you, then you might want to consider the big Y test from Family Tree DNA. And over the years you could also upgrade it as well. So it's an interesting way to go about your testing with Family Tree DNA. You can start with like a 37 marker test, and every year or two, or as you see fit, you can upgrade that and get more and more into this. Very interesting, especially for fans of genealogy. Okay, so you can see some of these tests. If you were to add different SNP tests to your DNA test, you can add them here. And I just added 3 SNPs down, and I added $39 to the price. So as you see, you start adding more SNPs, you're going to add more to the price of what you're testing for. And that's sort of why the big Y DNA test makes sense, because it's going to test all of these different SNPs, and it's all going to be for one price. So there's a little bit about your haplogroup. That's just one part of this DNA test that I really like. Now let's get into another part of this, ancestral origins. They have a nice map section here that you can bring up. And for some reason, it's running a little slow tonight. I'm clicking on things and it's taking a few seconds, which normally does not do. Maybe a lot of people are online right now. I'm not sure. And here are my ancestral origins of my matches. I'm not going to show you individual names on this video because I think it's sort of an invasion of privacy. But here's where they're from. My 12 marker matches, 2 in Germany, 2 in the Netherlands, 1 in Scotland. Genetic distance of 1. I've got 4 in Germany, 1 in United Kingdom. 25 marker, exact match from the Netherlands. And a genetic distance of 1. I have 1 in the Netherlands and 1 in Scotland. And my 37 markers, 1 match in Scotland. Now, that doesn't mean that my fathers were from Scotland or the Netherlands or Germany or any other country that's listed here, but you've got a relative, a potential relative that is related to you amongst your paternal line somewhere back in history. Now, that's the hardest part about figuring out how are you related. And there's a complicated way to go about it. It's sort of like genealogy itself, going back, finding the common ancestor that you share. So it's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's not like a road map. Here's A, B, C, D, E. You have to do some work in the middle of this as well. It's just not all spelled out for you like you would think it would be. Let's head on over to the migration maps, something that we were looking at a little earlier ago. And here, of course, Adam from 60,000 years ago, different branches. F was a group right in, looks like Saudi Arabia here, the Middle East. G, right out of Africa, and followed along a line, went eventually into Europe and then further into Europe. They also went into Russia. And here's some different maps. G goes back 20,000 years, for example. Here's Haplogroup P going back 35,000 years. R2 going back 25,000 years. So this gives you a little example of how far you're going back. You're going back to the beginning of civilization practically with some of these tests. And as I said, the more people that start taking the test, the better refinements they're making and different discoveries of where people are from, so on and so forth. Very interesting stuff. And it gets very scientific, a lot of reading involved in this, especially if you want to learn different things. Your matches, you can bring them up as well. I'm going to blur them out here. And this is what the matches screen look like. Your genetic distance at 37 markers. I have 2 matches. So that's a little bit more than I expected. A lot of my distant ancestors, I don't have many people that have matched me from my distant ancestors. So I was very happy to get at least 2 matches, even though they're at a longer genetic distance. I wish at 37 markers I had a 0 match, for example, because that's a closer match to somebody that is related to me. So I hope you enjoyed this video on why DNA testing. I hope you go out and consider it. Again, Family Tree DNA has my vote for one of the best online and biggest online resources and databases. You can join different groups. and be part of the family there at Family Tree DNA. You can ask questions on forums, of course, and read all about it. It's literally hours and very time-consuming to do, but it's very fun as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video.